Welcome to the ninth session of Samkhya 101, an introduction to Samkhya. It seems everything is okay here, but let me still ask if transmission is okay. I am asking this question by a chat. If somebody can respond and confirm, that will be very good. On your right side, you can write a few words, if possible. I think it seems okay. Okay. So let me move to my slides. To go to the screen share, and this, and these are my slides. So this is the title slide. I have two slides because we have devoted previous 8 sessions. And if you remember, the first session was a general historical perspective. If we subtract that, then total 7 sessions we have covered chapter 1, which has in total 129 statements. So in chapter 1, we have gone through this statement by statement, one after another. The reason I did it was the chapter 1 is in its totality, it lays down Kapil's entire philosophy. Now there are 5 more chapters. Sankhya, the book on Sankhya is in 6 chapters. The later 5 chapters are exposition of certain components of what has been covered in chapter 1. So basically I am trying to say, if you have studied chapter 1 well, you know the philosophy of Sankhya, Kapil's philosophy. But of course here there are 5 more chapters. So what I intend to do is, we have total 5 more sessions in this current term before we break off for Christmas, including this one. So in 5 remaining sessions, I will give you a kind of overview of one chapter each. So like today, I will give you an exposure of chapter 2, next Monday chapter 3, and so on and so forth. So that way you will have exposure of remaining chapters. But today, besides giving you an exposure of chapter 2, I am devoting 2 slides to review chapter 1. So, it is because last week we completed chapter 1 a bit hurriedly. So, I just want to give you an overview of what we have studied in chapter 1. So, this on the left side of each line, you see the 1.1 to 1.6, meaning these 6 statements were basically talking about what is called dukh. Dukh is the word for pain, and effort is purusharth or karm. We do something to get away from pain. And then he has promised to us to teach us atyant purusharth, and that is the absolute effort, most superior effort, which will get us away from pain in an absolute sense. Liberation, for which we use the term apvarg and also the word moksha, mukti, and so on and so forth. So this was in the first 6 statements. Then from 7th to 11th, because the pain is coming, because my purush, my tiny soul is bonded to my chitta, which we call buddhi in Sankhya, Patanjali refers to it as Chitta in yoga philosophy, but they are the same. So I am, like I try to show it through my hand, the thumb in the fist. So the thumb is me, and the shell of my fist, what makes the palm, which forms the fist, is my mind domain. And I have tried to say many times, this so called mind domain, what we call in English, is a tiny shell made of subatomic particles, and it has three layers. So the one which is closest to me is Buddhi in Sankhya and Chit in Patanjali Yoga. Layer is called Ahankar. The outer layer is called Manas. So these are three layers, and this whole three together is the mind as such. And then that connects to the body as such, the gross body. Now the bondage, the nature of the pain is because I am the shell of mind. In particular, I am close to my buddhi. So buddhi is the point where I am connecting to the world, to my mind domain, then to the gross body, then to the external world, which has, of course, some joy and pleasure also, but brings in pain also. And there is no worldly mechanism to get away from pain, because that's what is in first six statements. If I get away from pain, another pain strikes me. One example was hunger. If I eat good food, again few hours later I get hungry. But then somebody says, okay, before I get the pain of hunger, I will eat before I feel the hunger. A poor man feels the hunger, but a rich man says, I have a lot of money, I buy food. Before my body senses the hunger pain, I will eat food, so I will never have the pain of hunger. He is confident because of his wealth of money. But then there are many other kinds of pain, like you get ill, you have some other things strike you, in day to day life, which are unpredictable. So the pain is because I am in this world in the form of enveloped by the mind domain and the body domain. And liberation is when I disconnect permanently from all that. So now is this liberation possible at all? This can be known only if we know the nature of bondage. How did I how did I happen to have come in this form? Why am I in this world as a human being, enveloped by mind and body? So what is this bondage? Is it inherent, my attribute? Is it that I have for all the times, whether in the past or in the future, I am supposed to be bonded like that? Then Kapil is saying, no, this is not our inherent nature. This is happened, there is a cause of it. And that is the next section. Cause of bondage is avivek, lack of my understanding that I am not this mind, not this buddhi, but I am the soul. That is the not knowing it proper in a proper manner has brought me into this situation. So that is avivek. And he has given an example. Avivek is not exactly a thing which exists, entity. Avivek is absence of vivek. So there he gives an example of light and darkness, what is called prakash and andhakar. So darkness itself is not a thing, isn't it? It is just merely absence of light is darkness. If darkness was an independent entity, and if I enter into a hall where it is dark and I switch on the light, and if darkness was an independent entity, then I will see darkness going away. through the door or through the window or through some other opening. But we don't see darkness going away, isn't it? So darkness is there because light is not there. It is so simple. So avivek is like that. You cannot shoot your mind with a gun and say avivek will go away, isn't it? It is not afraid of your gun. Just like the darkness is not afraid of the gun. If you, instead of switching on light, you put a rocket launcher and throw a lot of missile, darkness doesn't go away, isn't it? So darkness goes away only if there is a source of light. In the same manner, avivek will go away only if there is a right kind of vivek, what is called vivek khyati. And what is that? A genuine and absolute understanding that this is me and this is my buddhi. Then, of course, there is a lot of talk. This is what Kapil's book is also saying, and many other books say that, and my teacher is saying that, so I know that. Then he says, no, Shravan Matya, just hearing is not enough. You have to see it yourself. So that is where meditation comes into picture, and today we will be touching upon it at the towards the end of the second chapter. Let's continue with this review of chapter 1. So, avivek is basically darkness of vivek, absence of vivek, and that vivek is gained by, we know in the life, seeing is believing, isn't it? Like I gave an example of an apple pie. You read a book of apple pie, 200 pages, all colored pictures, how to make it and how does it look. Somebody describes its taste. But if you have not eaten it your own self, you can never say confidently, I know what apple pie is, isn't it? So only when you experience it directly. So that experiential knowledge that this is me and this is my buddhi is vivek. That is what will bring us liberation, and that is what he is emphasizing. In the later few statements from 26 to 35, he uses an argument of inference so that he can convince us indeed there are two things, Purush and Prakriti. Of course, that is what the whole Vivek is, to know that Purush and Prakriti are two different. Purush is my own self, and Prakriti is what Buddhi is made up of. So if I know Purush and Prakriti separately, I got the Vivek. But then a person like me will ask Kapil, why should I bother to go after that journey which I don't even, at least you have to convince me something like this exists. So prima facie, he is trying to convince us that yes, Purush and Prakriti, two things exist. Because in this world, there are two kinds of things, conscious things as well as unconscious things. Like this chair, table, computer, all this is unconscious. And we, the human beings, the animal, bird, we are conscious being. And within this me, human being, the body is unconscious, even mind is unconscious. Finally, that Purush is conscious. So this inquiry is justified. Yes, two things exist, two kinds of things exist. Material objects that go through all kinds of transformation, and they are essentially made of three strands, and there is something consciousness who is unmanifest, who doesn't go through any change. So this he is convincing us, not that he wants, he is just trying to motivate us to go through the journey of gaining the vivek. And for that, if you want to traverse a journey, you at least want to know where your destination is. Is it well defined or not? Then only you can make the journey. So in those 10 statements from 26 to 35, using the inference arguments, one method of evidence, he is trying to convince us that yes, Purush and Prakriti are two independent entities, and that is what we want to gain knowledge about, get to see them in an experiential sense. And then he further goes on, 36 to 42, the cause and effect. This is his logical basis. This is what every human being in the world believes in. Law of causation, cause and effect. The whole world goes by this, is it not? If I get ill, then doctor tells me what is the cause of it. Maybe I was eating something wrong, or I was not having enough clothes and it was too cold outside. There is always a cause for an effect. And that is what scientists are always concerned with. Any philosopher is, why do things fall to the surface of the earth? Because of the gravitational pull of the gravity of the earth. So we look at the things at effect, trying to find its cause. It is raining because there are clouds up in the sky, isn't it? So there is a cause is the clouds, effect is the rain. Then scientist goes further. Why the clouds exist? Then there is evaporation of water. This is not just boiling of water, evaporation due to what is called Clausius-Clapeyron equation. At any temperature, water is vaporizing. Not that it has to be heated at 100 degrees Celsius, then only it will vaporize. This is the beauty of the nature. Even at low temperature, water is vaporizing. But why? Due to the sunlight falling on the all kinds of water bodies in the earth, on the earth. That makes. Then why do the water vaporize? Scientists goes after everything. It is unending inquiry, and that is what Kapil is also doing in a scientific manner. He is saying the root cause of all that is happening in the world is the matter in its primordial state that is called Prakriti. And then conscious beings are, of course, enveloped by certain layers of Prakriti, but deep inside, I am a tiny soul. That is my push. That is what. So, cause and effect has a relationship, and that is what Kapil is analyzing and teaching us in 36 to 42. 43 to 51, what is the purpose of universe? So that he says is bhog and upward. So in the human life, of course, we go through all the experience. Being going through these experiences is bhog, which can be pleasure or pain either way. So, but bhog is experience, and no human being can say, "I don't go through bhog. I don't go through experience." Then there are mechanisms. Why do you have bhog? Because you do certain karma. So karma brings its reward as experience. Why do you do karma? You make an effort. Why do you make an effort? I want to get away from pains of life. So he's trying to say this is the worldly mechanism. I get a pain. I want to get away from pain. I make an effort. That effort brings its own reward, that is the karma phal, and that makes me undergo some more experience. Sometimes that is pleasure, but it brings another chain of dukh, another chain of pain. So this worldly mechanism is not working. That is why he is giving us another solution, namely the vivek khyati. So that is not action oriented, that is meditation based experiential learning. So, in that also, we need the help of our mind, isn't it? So that the universe is not only for our bhog, but for our apavarga also. We need all these, we are discussing Sankhya philosophy. We cannot discuss it without our body and mind, isn't it? So, all these instruments, buddhi, etc., are required even to understand Kapil's philosophy. And then we want to do corresponding experiments with meditation, etc., that will bring us to Vivek Khyati. So, purpose of universe is twofold: to give us all the experiences that we deserve because of our past actions, that has to be there, and not only that, it is also a wonderful mechanism which can bring us to the Vivek Khyati, provided I have a right kind of mechanism how to do that. That's what Kapil is trying to teach us. Then, this is logical analysis, cause and effect, and how they are related. So he says, Praman, three types of evidence. Pratyaksh is direct perception, but then here that we are all familiar with, what we get to know through our five senses. So direct perception is something that finally ends up on my chitta or buddhi, isn't it? The image of a chair which I am seeing through my eyes is falling on my chitta. Then I say, ah, this is a chair. I conclude it. So that is my buddhi. That is called direct perception. But here, Kapil goes one step further because as we see it, like I will show you that diagram just quickly. This is our Samkhya diagram of 25 elements, isn't it? Now these gross elements are made out of five gross elements. But these internal, they are also made of prakriti, matter. But these are very subtle particles. How Kapil came to know about them? Then Kapil is telling that happens to a yogi in deep meditation. And because those images also are coming on the buddhi, he is putting them in the category of pratyaksh, direct perception. So I hope you understand the meaning of direct perception of Kapil is very wide. Not only the gross objects that we are familiar with, but also in deep in meditation, when I get an image, my eyes are closed, but we get it what Patanjali calls Sampajñat Samadhi. Those images are also to be viewed as direct perception. I hope you understand that. And then he goes a step further. If somebody had a feeling, there is a famous statement, Ishvaya Siddhi here, which almost all the people have misunderstood, but that is tied up in this sequence, so that has to be understood in that context. So, what he's saying is yes, subtle objects can be seen directly, pratyaksh, direct perception by yogis, but not of Ishwar. But not of Ishwar. Because somebody could say, Ishwar is so super fine, why not that? Not that, because Ishwar is not made of matter. Subtle particles made of matter can be seen in those abhyanta asampajat samadhi, but not something which is not made of matter at all, isn't it? That will not have an image on our buddhi. So indirectly, and then he again follows it up saying, Ishwar is not a material cause, so he cannot be seen in direct perception even by a yogi. Then what happens? What are the other two types of evidences? That is namely inference. Now, how Ishwar is to be seen, I will get an opportunity to say that in the later part of this course somewhere, you know. But basically, it is, let me touch upon it if somehow it doesn't happen. Right here, I tell you, Ishwar is not much to be known, but to be obtained. Let me give a very quick example like a child returns from school and calls for his mom, Mom, where are you? Mom is in some corner of the house. He says, I am here. The child goes there, hugs his mother, and maybe the mother lifts her child and takes her in her lap. Now, from child's perspective, child is with his mother. Child is has obtained his mother, but a child with his limited limitations of mind and all, child cannot say, I know all the aspects of my mother. Because his mother is a very large personality, her emotions and her feelings a child cannot understand. So child cannot get to know the mother fully, but child can obtain the mother, isn't it? So that will be the secret of all this philosophy. As a tiny soul, I can get to that infinite soul of Ishwar, but I will never be able to say confidently, I know Ishwar fully well, isn't it? A lot of aspect of Ishwar will be unknown because that is infinite entity. Okay, let's move further. Three types of evidences: direct perception, then inference, like seeing the rain, we say there must be cloud, though I cannot see the clouds, and testimony, somebody whom you trust, who has unambiguous knowledge. He tells us, then we trust him and we say that is as good as I have seen it. Why this all this study logic is required? This is what will be helpful to gain the vivek. Otherwise, we are already struggling with avivek, and that causes us to perform further karma that brings efforts, that brings its fruits. So we are in the cycle of all these worldly things. 79 to 102, further analysis of cause and effect, particularly what are the derivatives of prakriti, the matter, and then he is talking about, because in the world, like we talked about a piece of fabric coming from cotton wool, and due to the wear and tear, it disappears. Does it get lost? Kapil says no, it goes back to where it came from. So he gave an example of seed becoming the plant, and plant produces further seed. So this is all cyclic. It goes on, goes on. So here he takes the opportunity to tell us Mahat is not the final thing which we are packaged with the buddhi, which is a particular Mahat. But Mahat is not the primary thing because our buddhi is made of three strands and it goes through all kinds of fluctuations. That's why our feelings, our emotions are variables, isn't it or not? So that is not the final. That is also coming from something which is Prakriti. We will never be able to know Prakriti because our buddhi by definition is manifest and Prakriti is unmanifest, is where all the three strands of sattva, rajas, tamas are in equilibrium. So how can buddhi give you the picture of Prakriti? Impossible. So that is where all these logical tools are helpful. And in particular, he uses the term vyakt and avyakt. Our buddhi is vyakt because I can decipher it in deep state of meditation, but Prakriti by definition is unknowable. So it is avyakta. Last section, quite long one, from 27 statement, 103 to 129, is dedicated to Purush now. Purush, that consciousness, is void of three stands because it is unmanifest, it is always what it is. It is also the presiding entity. This is the owner of the body and mind. And he is the one who chit avsano bhoga. That was the statement. Buddhi is an instrument that brings an experience, but it is felt by me. Buddhi itself doesn't feel it. So I am the experience. And this is me, my Purush, who desires liberation, who is because he must be different from Prakriti because matter is void of consciousness. So many material things they don't get conscious. And what is Purush? Is its attribute is consciousness? No, it is inherently conscious. We devoted some time to it that this is its swaroop. This is not its attribute. And then so is affirmed by the Vedas. And how many Purusha are there? Infinite multiples. Because once when I am in pleasure, you are in pain, and vice versa. All these diversities are there. So we are all individual Purusha. And that is finally to be known by self realization. So you see, the chapter 1 has covered all Purush, Prakriti, Vivek is through self, everything has been covered. But then he adds later 5 chapters to, you know. So let me go through that. Today I am trying to give you an overview, a summary of chapter 2 in 3 slides. So what is chapter 2? And off and on I will read out certain statements which I think are very important. So let's say it is talking about purpose of universe is bhog and upwork. I am going through bhog because I am inflicted with avivek. Once I acquire Vivek, I will gain upward. And the universe is the tool, necessary tools are coming in this universe for both Bhog as well as upward. So, second point one is Vimukta Mokshatam Swatham Va Pradhanasya. Prakriti has another name, namely Pradhan. Pradhan is doing its own job basically for my moksha, Vimukta Mokshatam. Second point three is saying na shravan matra tat siddhena balvat. Shravan matra. Only by hearing I cannot acquire that knowledge. It is experiential learning. So I am bringing out very some important statements. Otherwise, I will just read out from my slides. Upwork is actually granted by Ishwar. What is the role of Ishwar then? If I can just get upward, no, this is granted by Ishwar, but via Prakriti. Prakriti supplies the necessary tools, but finally, the separation of me from my envelopes of, because he had only enveloped me. I came into this world, my soul was enveloped by the mind and body. I came in mother's body, then she delivered me into this outer world, and all this is happening. Nobody of us, I cannot say I caused all those events. Even my mother cannot say I did all that. It was happening in her own body, but she was just aware of it, something is happening, but she didn't know whether it's a boy or a girl or what is happening. So Ishwa is doing all that, enveloping me with body and mind domain. And he only has the power to separate from those domains. But when I am qualified, that qualification is gained by upward. So again, an example is given, fire and iron. Yes, I am like a piece of iron. When I am put in the fire, that infinite fireplace of Ishwar, then I acquire that. So that is, I will be close to him, but then I have to get to him. And getting to him is upward. So that was second point 8. So I'm just reading out certain statements. You may pick up certain words. Dahavat. Dahavat is the furnace. So Anyoge Siddhi Nanjasye Nayo Dahavat. Dahavat is like in the furnace. So certain examples are given. What means like that happens in this. So then he says Mahat builds up to 5 gross elements and the creation. So essentially, chapter 2 is Prakriti and our instruments, like I have titled the slide. Prakriti leading to our instrument. And what does this our instrument? So this is the diagram of Prakriti, where from Mahat, Ahankar, and this Manas and 10 Indriyas. This is our instruments. When this is as my instrument, this is called Buddhi, isn't it? This is Ahankar, this is Manas. These three put together is the whole mind domain. What is the palm that is enveloping my fist, isn't it? And then these are 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs. These are mine. So second chapter is talking about this channel. The third chapter will talk about this. This is outer world I live in. Not that out in the sense even my body is made of 5 gross. But you understand what is outer world. Anything beyond my mind, That becomes my body as well as the world we live in. That will be covered in chapter 3. Next Monday, I will give you an overview of chapter 3. Today, we are discussing chapter 2, which is following the headline. Okay, let's go on. So, but he makes a slight statement, not going into much detail. Mahat builds up to 5 gross elements and the creation, but he's emphasizing it is not doing for itself, like a chair is not for itself. Anything made out of matter, whether we do it or whether Ishwar does it, is for a conscious being. So at the outset, he's trying to say even the outer curve, the green line, is for certain conscious being. That means there is something like consciousness. And that consciousness has to be equipped with the instruments to get to know itself, gain the vivek. And now he's talking about our instruments, starting with buddhi. So buddhi, what is its business? That is covered in 2.13. Adhyavasayo buddhi. Buddhi is defined as adhyavasaya, discriminative faculty. So like we give an example, I see the object with 4 chairs, then I conclude it is a chair and it is not a table. How did I do it? I applied my discriminatory ability, that is our buddhi. We do. Without this, we cannot function. We have such a tool, isn't it? So I am the knower, I, me, my soul. But who makes me know this and conclude it? That is called buddhi. And when I say this hall, I came here last week also. I saw these chairs last week also. So I remember that. Who is storing that knowledge? That is my ahankar. Because buddhi has a flickering thing. It just shows you the immediate image. It cannot show you the previous image. So previous image is stored in the ahankar, which is sitting next to buddhi. And because that is what is holding all my previous ideas, previous conclusions, previously earned, analyzed views, that is what is my personality. So, what is ahankar? You have to understand it very clearly because this ahankar has been goofed by almost all the authors. Out of 100, 95 authors will translate it as ego because this term ahankar is in day to day use in Indian language. But this is not ahankar. Here the ahankar means aham karoti iti ahankara. Aham is me. What forms my personality? That is my ahankar. So my personality is formed in my storage device, in my memory, where all my ideas, all my conclusions, all my previous sanskars, all my habits are there, isn't it? You have learned driving. Now you have so-called driving skill stored in your memory, and now you do the driving very fluently, isn't it? So all that program is in your ahankar device. So ahankar is the way you walk, the way you speak. Everything is, all are your signatures. All signatures are stored not in buddhi, but in ahankar. Buddhi is like your desktop, isn't it? Desktop, like I am seeing a laptop of mine. Laptop screen is my buddhi, which just shows what is immediately of my use. But what is for future use, what I am holding since my past times, all those files, they are stored in my memory device, is it not? There is a hard disk there. So that hard disk for a human being is his ahankar. So ahankar is my personality, attention, and that itself is like buddhi formed the ahankar. This is how that Ishwar was doing it. Ishwar made all these instruments for you. Ishwar made buddhi out of prakriti. He made your ahankar out of your buddhi. And then he made manas and other 10 indriyas sense organs and motor organs out of your ahankar. That is what is being described here, and he is step by step telling you what are the individual business of these units, what are their own functions. So ahankar is my personality, it retains all my ideas, and in turn, this is what produces 11 indriyas. 11 is one is manas and 10 other ones. If I go to that diagram, this mahat, which is buddhi, Ishwar makes ahankar out of this, not we. Ishwar makes out of the ahankar the upper curve, but we are now concerned about the lower red line. Out of ahankar, he makes 11 things. One manas, 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs. Okay. So that is what he is talking about. What is his job? Job of buddhi is discriminatory ability. Job of ahankar is to retain the knowledge which I have gathered previously, including all my programming and skills. Knowledge and action, both are stored there, how I perform. And then out of ahankar, this was produced by Ishwar. And this green line is also done by Ishwar. What do human beings do? We do out of gross element, we build many other things, isn't it? Whatever we make is always out of 5 gross elements. These are all subtle elements, and this is primary material cause. So that is the way Kapil is asking us to view the situation. What is Manas doing, which was this here, the first element out of Ahankar? The business of Manas is ability to know and act, because it gathers incoming signals from 5 senses. It has ability to pick up the knowledge signals coming from 5 sense organs, and also it has ability to activate my motor organ. Like I am speaking now, the speech organ is speaking because my manas is activating. So in my buddhi I am concluding what to speak, which I am deriving from my past knowledge from ahankar. And once I frame a sentence, I pass it to ahankar. I decide at the level of buddhi. Buddhi passes it to ahankar, because once I have said a sentence, I will remember it for some time, is it not? So that is stored in ahankar, and ahankar passes it to manas. Manas then activates my speech organ and I speak it loud. Is it okay? So this is how things are functioning. So manas is a two-way traffic here. It picks up incoming. Sorry, the arrows are not showing properly, but I hope you understand. These 5 senses will bring knowledge to manas, and manas will. This is when I am in the incoming knowledge gaining mode. When I am in the action mode, like I am speaking now, my ahankar will pass on that sentence which I have constructed at buddhi here. That is passed on here, but it is stored also by my ahankar, because I will tell you, last week I told this to you, isn't not? I remember those sentences, some of them. That is then passed on to manas. Manas activates my speech organ here, one of them. There are 5 organs, and then the voice comes out, the sound comes out. Very fantastic system. So that is all the first slide of theme. In next 15 minutes, I have 2 more slides. We are continuing. The chapter 2 is Prakriti and our instrument. Now there is a statement from 31. Sorry, there was a statement 26. Dvayo, ubhayatmakam mana. Ubhay means twofold, is it not? So that's what I have translated. It has a twofold ability, incoming knowledge and outgoing action. Ubhayatmakam manaha. Mana is for manas. Okay, we are just bringing the important ones, not other. Because I'm just giving you an overview. Now there is a statement about prana which I thought was very important. So I am bringing it here. So if you know it, the Upanishad is saying, I am enveloped by five sheets. So Purush is the soul, and then from inside outward, if I say, Anandamaya Kosh, which is because I am in the lap of Ishwar. If I care to know it, I will be in Anand. That is absolute pleasure. And that's what I desire in liberation, because I will always be, that is the closest envelope sheets, which is full of pure absolute pleasure. That's why we are seeking liberation. Then I will get Anand. But the next one is Vijnan, my course. That is what is the Buddhi is there. Then it is Manomaya course. That is where Manas is there. And then Annamaya course, this gross body. So now he is saying the Pranamaya course is positioned between the Manomaya course and Annamaya course. So if I were to count those five sheets again, most innermost is Anandamaya course, Vijnanmaya course of Buddhi, Manomaya course of Manas. The Ahankara is participating in both of them. It is active in both because this is hard disk hours, isn't it? And then from Manas, I don't jump to the gross body. There is a Pranamaya course. And then comes the gross body layer, the Annamaya course. So the statement second point 31, which I am just mentioning here, five vital layers are between Manas and 10 Indriyas. Samanyakaran Vetti Pranadya Vayava Pancha. Five vital layers are there. Samanyakaran, which is Karan is an apparatus, an instrument. This is a very instrument, that's why it is vital. Saman, it is always functioning, is it not? Whether I am engaged in knowledge or action or I am in sleep, these things, our breathing, our heartbeat, our digestion, they are always functioning, is it not? So that is constant, I won't say intervention of Ishwar, but Ishwar is always there and showing that our entire system, that is called sustenance of life. Not only he gave me life, he is sustaining it, is it not? Even when I am in deep sleep, he ensures all these vital functions are there. Otherwise, I will collapse, is it not? Brain hemorrhage and heart attacks, and so many things can happen. So that is samanya, means that is always happening. So he is pointing it out. So he's describing to us picture from in out into out. He has talked about buddhi, this he has talked about manas. Now next he's going to talk about indriyas, but because the pranamaya course is notionally here, where I am showing my cursor, he has made a mention of that. He's a genius. Now he talks about indriyas. Indriyas function one after another and concurrently too. 32. Kamasho akamasasche indriya vette. This is very fantastic. Yes, Manas picks up knowledge, but this I have described at length in chapter 1. If I am absorbed in observing a picture, I don't pick up the sound. My wife is saying something from the other room, but I am watching TV. I say, sorry, beg your pardon. Can you say that again? Because my manas was picking up signals from the sight organ and not from the sound organ. I missed that. So this is kamashaha, one after another. You cannot see and hear together. You are seeing or hearing, is it not? That is what is kamasha. But then he says akamasha. So Manas is capable of picking up knowledge signal from five senses, one after another, not simultaneously. But then he's saying, oh Kamasha, concurrently certain things can happen. What can happen? That is one sense organ with one motor organ or multiple motor organ. I can walk as well as see, is it not? We can do hand waving, our hands are moving, but I can still see what time is it in the clock. So my manas is capable of, it does not pick up data signal from more than one sense organ, Janindi, what is called. But along with that, it cannot take data from second signal, incoming signal of knowledge signal, but it can activate a motor organ, or it can activate multiple motor organs. So multiplicities can come from the motor organ. Like I can walk as well as speak. And when I am thinking, when I am seeing the beautiful things around me, but so I can walk as well as speak. I can wave my feet as well as hold such, transfer one bag from one hand to another. That is manipulation. While walking was the locomotion degree, speaking is speech, etc. These multiple things can happen because they have inertia, is it not? So once I activate that, that is like flywheel, it goes on moving. But when it comes to sense organ, it is one at a time. So this is what is second point 32. I have tried to describe. Second point 33, which is exactly same as in Patanjali Yoga. There it is 1.4 or 5, something like this. Vetaya Panchtaya Klishta Aklishta. Now he's saying Veti. Now he's talking about what is captured from the Indiyas goes to Buddhi and that it becomes Vetti. That's how I know it. So Vetti is modification on my Buddhi, is it not? They are of 5 types, and whether they are with Klesh or without Klesh. This I discuss in detail in Yoga Sutras. So I just brought this statement so that those attending my Yoga Sutra classes can relate to it. This is exactly same statement. There are many more statements of Kapil which have been borrowed by Patanjali. Then is that is important. 38, yeah. Karanam, Theodas. Theodas is 13. So he's counting how many instruments we are equipped with. 13. Where does this number come from? 13. Simple. Buddhi is 1, Ahankar 2, Manas 3, and then 5 plus 5, 13. So this is a statement which says specifically there are 13. I am proud of it because there are very few people in the world who has understood all this. If you read books, there is a lot of confusion. What is the confusion? They will say Chitta, Buddhi, Ahankar and Manas. They will talk about 4. And they have not understood this statement, second point 38 of Kapil. This is not counting 14, this is counting 13. And that's why people don't get the clue that Chit and Buddhi are same. I have not seen any book in the world which is specifically saying Chit and Buddhi are same. If you see a book, let me know it. Confusion after confusion. People don't understand. And I have tried to explain in this class why Mahat becomes Chit. Why there are 3 names here. So Mahat is structural name of the particle. Structural name. Like a brick, out of brick you make a wall, is it not? But a single brick can become like a small wall at one corner. So brick is functioning as a wall, but brick is a brick. So Mahat is a Mahat, which is functioning as, say, Chitta. Now the same entity which is functioning as my Chit, Patanjali likes to call it Chit, but Kapil likes to call it Buddhi. That also I have explained. If I do again, we will be short of time. Now I have just 6 more minutes, is it not? And one full slide. So, I am just trying to explain. If you read other books, where will you be confused? Ahankar will be treated as ego. He has no understanding. It is not memory and our storage. Then Chitta and Buddhi he will count as 2 separate units. and he will give on his own idea what is chitta, what is buddhi, and then that doesn't tally with second point 38, which is specifically saying Teyo Dasha. Dash is 10, Teyo means 3, 10 plus 3, 13. Exact. Second point 39. Indiyeshu sadhak tamatva gunu yogat kuthavat. Very good statement he is making. These Indiyas, because his journey is from here to here. Now he's talking about these 10 Indriyas, our organs, which are outer organs, so to say. But here also I have described in detail. Kapil's hast is not hand. I have given you an example. A painter making a picture out of his teeth, is it not? A pen he is holding by teeth. I have given you all these examples. So you will not see any book which is correct, accurate. So now he's saying these 10 Indriyas are like instrument, like an axe is. Indriyas are like an axe. Try to understand its deep meaning. If I want to cut wood, I lift an axe and I use it as a tool, is it not? If I don't want to do it, I don't use an axe. So Kapil's teaching is for superior human beings where we have to elevate ourselves that we are not in the business of these Indriyas always. Otherwise, we are always engaged in the outer world. These Indriyas are bringing us knowledge from the outer world and are taking actions on the outer world. So for the Vivek Khyati, we have to go inward, is it not? When we should learn to disconnect from these 10 instruments, and that's why he's saying they are like an axe. You don't always hold an axe in your hand, is it not? Only when you need to cut some wood. So you need hand to eat food. Okay, these are very bare minimum survival activity. Otherwise, we have to go for the inward journey. Very beautiful examples, and also an axe itself is of no good unless there is a human being holding it, is it not? So there has to be a conscious being. Even our Indriyas are of just instrument unless there is a conscious being. And of course, in the end, when somebody dies, the eyes cannot see, the ears cannot hear. So all that is there. Second point 40. Dvayoh pradhanam manolok vad bhetyeshu. So yes, these 10 Indriyas are very, very functional and all. But why do we talk more about manas than about this? Especially for one who wants to gain vivek, why should I concentrate here? Then he says, this is like a minister and they are all their assistants. So that's why he becomes important. Dvayo. Dvayo is for two kinds of Indriyas I have, organs for knowledge, organs for action. Pradhanam, this is the chief of them. So, indeed, if I am not linked to my sight organ, my eyes are open, but I will say, sorry, I didn't notice it. Is it not? So, these 10 Indriyas are assistants, while this is the primary organ. Okay. Manas is the prime one, like minister's assistant. Sorry, it's 7:44. I have 1 minute, but I have one slide. I'll go fast now because I'm just trying to give you 5 statements. So I may exceed 1 or 2, 3 minutes, not more than that. Second point 42, which is what is people have not understand when they translate ahankar as ego. Tatha says sanskar dhayatvat. Sanskar dhayatva is holding it. It retains, ahankar retains. People don't understand this is talk about ahankar now. Mana is covered in second 40. 41 is another follow-up about manas. Now he's going inward. So that was outward journey. So I told you, we started from buddhi, this. Now the journey is going back. What he's saying, just beautiful language. He has said they are assistant. This is what is the more important. This is like a minister. And now he has covered all this and he's going inward like this and trying to convince us we should go for Vivek Khyati. But people don't understand. They don't have big picture. What should I say? I feel sorry about these. All these are great scholars. But you have to see the any philosophy, whether it is Patanjali or Kapil, you don't see statement by statement. You look for a distance, gain a perspective, realize what is the flow diagram, what is the flow chart. So they also had a flow chart, and you have to master that. So he's not using the term ahankar here, but necessarily the context is now tatha means similarly. What is happening about the next unit he's talking about, which is ahankar? Shesh sanskar dhayatvat. It is holding, retaining the sanskar. Such a clear. And then 43 is saying Smritya Anumanach. Because I know I hold a memory, I remember things. Where is it held? That is also. Cha means also. Cha, that is also held in Ahankar. Such a clear statement that Ahankar retains the sanskars, the previous impressions, and is also my memory device. That is 42 and 43 are very clear about Ahankar, but people miss it out. Now he's going inward, so people have to realize it. And I tell you, I am using 5 books. Even these 5 books have failed, but I can see it. This is about buddhi because the flow chart is going that way. They don't apply my mind. So, this is very important. Now, this 44th statement is Sambhavet na swatah. This is related to buddhi. Buddhi cannot function alone without all these subsequent diagrams we have seen it. Because why? Apekshiko guna pradhan bhava kriya visheshat. So in 45, 46 he's saying Indriyas are important or unimportant for their specific functions. Yes, but we are not like a person is can see, but there is a person who is blind also. He can also get into Vivek Khyati, is it not? So we are not, we can become slightly handicapped, but life is life. We can still lead that life. So primary organ is buddhi, and these are all equally important, but the main as far as we are concerned is buddhi. Tat karmajitatvat 46 is it was all the buddhi had performed all kinds of worldly actions, and that's why it derived all kinds of karma and phal. And then I need all these assistants also, and quality of these assistants. Somebody's buddhi is good and somebody is not well talented. Where does it happen? His previous buddhi has earned the present buddhi, is it not? Somebody is born blind because of his previous action. So we all start with the same set of tools, but then if you don't use them properly, then you are rewarded accordingly. And somebody is born very high IQ, somebody is born low IQ, somebody is already in the journey of what is called Prakriti, Lay, and Videh. He can go through the like Vivek Khyati, and of course we know it. Very few people come in this class, many people don't come. So all this is your buddhi that you are attending this class, is it not? And that property has also been earned by your own buddhi. 47, that is the end of it. Saman karm yoge buddhe pradhanyam lokva lokva. This is pradhanya, that is the primary. Though all instruments perform in team, yet buddhi is the primary instrument. So it's like buddhi is your prime minister. Then there are many other ministers, other assistants. But as far as you are the empire, you are the president, the push, and you are interacting with the prime minister. Now, how does prime minister function? All those are instruments, and that is where we should concentrate and gain Vivek Khyati. Thank you very much. See you next week.
So this is,
Oh,
sorry.
stop sharing.